I don't know if it felt like a kick in the head or a kick in the gut, or if the governor really anticipated she would be the running mate for Joe Biden, having been called to visit him a week or so before. We really don't know what happened in that visit, but it'd be curious to find out if we get a chance to ask her sometime soon. But as you know by now, our governor was one of the finalists with Joe Biden, and by all accounts, he really liked her, and she really liked him, and they would have got along just famously running for president. But it was the senator from California, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden did a Zoom call with, and apparently told her on that Zoom call, "Are you ready to get to work?" And they appeared together yesterday, and here was her answer.
And Joe, I'm so proud to stand with you. And I do so mindful of all the heroic and ambitious women before me.
And she says that we are in a terrible situation here in the United States, and guess who she blames?
We don't have to accept the failed government of Donald Trump and Mike Pence. In just 83 days, we have a chance to choose a better future.
Just after that, the president himself took to the podium, and he called Joe Biden's pick of a running mate unusual, as you will hear in this series of clips.
There was nobody more insulting to Biden than she was. She said horrible things about him. She said horrible things about him, horrible things. And she mocked him, openly mocked him. That's why I thought that was a very risky pick, because I'm sure that'll be played back. She ran and she went down to rock bottom. I don't think she ever got to run to take a vote in the first state. So generally speaking, you don't want to pick somebody that went down.
Tony Daunt is the executive director of the Michigan Freedom Fund. He's on our AT&T line right now. And Tony, at some point in the process, did you call Joe Biden and tell him to remove you from consideration for being his running mate?
Yeah, I did it. Well, I did that, and then I hopped the plane and flew out to Delaware to tell him that, because I didn't think a phone call or a Zoom was sufficient enough. So if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you over some water there in Arizona. So
the governor is going to be asked, clearly, the next time she does a press avail, hopefully on this program, and certainly maybe with other media, but how the process went, how she felt about not being picked. That's inevitable, isn't it?
Oh, I would think so, and I would certainly hope so. Because, we saw this, there was a story out yesterday where she's claiming that, she told them even back in the spring that she wanted out, and he should pick a woman of color. And, that's so hard to believe that I can't believe people's eyes don't roll through the back of their head when they hear it, because it's like saying, well, I didn't want to win the lotto because I didn't want all that money to deal with. And, look, it's certainly, she should be flattered that she was considered, that she was at the top of the list. But, trying to say that she claimed she wanted out and things like that is just typical of this governor, where, she just can't be straight with the facts and with people that she represents here in Michigan. She's always got to make it more dramatic than it really is. And that's just, again, part and parcel of how her quote unquote leadership has been since the start.
She's speaking on Monday night, for whatever that means anymore anyway, with the Democrat convention. It's all online and television, I guess, as opposed to in person. So, but the Monday night position is where she will be, as I understand it. But she's in the number one spot, wouldn't you think, or at least in the top tier of people now with powder dry in case President Trump wins again for 2024.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can only imagine what will happen with the Democratic Party if Donald Trump pulls out another victory this year. And it's not as ridiculous of a notion as we may think it is right now, because I just saw some polling from some of the battleground states, Michigan, Wisconsin, where he's back within 5-6 points or so of Joe Biden, and that's exactly where Hillary Clinton was 4 years ago. And it's a testament to how poorly the Democrats have run their campaign, and how they've allowed kind of this real radical left-wing element of their party to drag them away from what should be, very honestly, kind of a certain victory on their part. And they just don't have it in them to stand up to those folks and give the people who are Trump skeptics and people in the middle who are tired of his antics the ability to say, well, at least they're not crazy, and they're not going to, allow the left wing to run rampant in this country and take us back to the 1960s and 70s when it comes to kind of crime and the decline of our cities. It's exactly where we're headed right now if those type of folks get back in power.
Well, how else could you explain a first-term congresswoman from the Bronx getting a national spot to speak during the Democrat convention like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez will?
I think that you've asked the right question. How else do you explain it? And you don't, other than to say they are just so either beholden to or afraid of this radical left-wing element within their party that they feel they have to give them a national stage. They have to give them high bidding at their convention, or else they think those people are going to walk away from them and that it's enough to make the difference. But I think they're looking at it all wrong. If they were to take the opposite tack and to say, look, America has its faults. It's a wonderful place. There's things that we could do from a policy perspective to make it better, but we don't need to be burning our cities down every night throughout this country. We don't need to make these radical changes, talk about, maybe removing statues from, I'm drawing a blank on Mount Rushmore. Yeah. It's foolish. If they would just say, that's craziness, we're going to protect America as we know it, I think they'd be in a much better spot.
We'll see, and we'll be right there with you along the way. The Michigan Freedom Fund's Tony Daunt. Front Lines of Freedom can come in your email box every week for free if you touch base with him at Michigan Freedom Fund. Google it up and support it too if you like.